Year 11 as we get close to the assignment being. And I just wanted to, one of the things in the draft that wasn't done consistently well was Pestel. And I know in my class we've had a look at it, but I just want to put together just a last minute presentation if people were still looking for ideas. So the idea of this is one of the analysis tools. We're also using a USP, unique selling proposition or point. The idea of this part criteria is we have to select some information and data, and it's really important that we've got to be using data business numbers somewhere in what we're doing. The second is that we've got to use this well, which means make sure it's in the right category in the analysis tool, and finally analyze this for the business. What does it mean for the business situation? And in everyday language, I've gone through, we've got to choose the information and data. I've also reminded us we need some primary information, some interviews, observations, a survey, probably most likely in the USP, I think, here. Then we've got to put that data correctly in the Pestel and USP, and then some analysis what it means. And I think the best way to do the analysis myself is perhaps do a paragraph after the USP and Pestel and pointing out the most important things from those. We've got to include data. I've said, I think, 3 times already. And we've got to include primary sources here. As well as that, just looking ahead, when you think about your relationship pattern or trend, and in some cases you may have more than one of each, they have to come from these analysis tools. You can't just sort of make them up and pull them out of thin air. So make sure there is a link back to that. If you want to talk about something that's not in your analysis tool, then find a way to pop it in. We'll go very quickly. You should know political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental frameworks. Let's sneak through and have a look at what each of those might look like. Political is what the government's going to influence. It might be government policy, it might be taxes, it could be an election coming up that you think maybe might be important. Trade tariffs, tax are political factors. Economic factors, a lot of them. I think a lot of people at the moment will be talking about inflation and interest rates, but it can also be things like unemployment. It could be an economic element. So, for example, you might look at, if you're looking at the price of food, that might be a big input factor there. Anything that is economic in nature. Social factors or socio-cultural factors, things around your population, people are getting a little bit older, but what most likely be around lifestyles and trends. We've certainly talked a lot about the fact that people are choosing, preferring healthier options. That's a trend you can always put in there around food being that the topic of yourselves. Technological, anything around here, it can be things around the rise of social media. It can be what's happening in different stores, point of sale technology, the way people are engaging more through smartphones. It can be individual technology that's being used in your industry. For example, starting to see more and more restaurants that are using robots for service, or maybe there's some technology involved in the preparation of the food. Legal factors, what are the legal requirements? A lot of it might be around things like licensing, food safety, employment. There's been some recent changes around casual employees having access to a few more rights, and environmental. Right, how's the business dealing with the environment? What are they doing around waste? An example: single-use plastics being outlawed would be something that would be specific for that would have had some ramifications for people in the food service industry. So McDonald's has got some things here as a little bit of an example, and you're welcome to kind of freeze it and have a look at these. Now, this isn't how you would set it out yourself. I've got an example of that coming up. This just gives you some ideas. So for political, they got health and nutrition policies, taxation policies, employment law, economic. You see down the bottom, they've got interest rates and inflation, which are going to be really important for us at the moment. Social, changing consumer preferences, technological. The same sort of things. They're bringing the idea of food safety technology there, environmental, climate change, sustainability initiatives, waste management, and legal, food and health safety regulation. So if you want to get some ideas, freezing this and having a read through some of those might have some use. Let's jump into this. Now, this is an example that I've put together of a pestle for Qantas. I think it's a nice way of showing what we can do. So the political factor I've chosen here is a second airport being built in Sydney. Now, the government is committed to it. It's a government initiative, so it's a political factor. Now, I don't have to say this. Somewhere I have to say what these points mean for Qantas. So I could do it here, or I can do it in a summary at the end. And that's my preference. I would do it in a summary after the Pestel, after the USP. So I'm not going to talk about what it means for the business. I'm just going to put the information, put the data in the correct spaces in these at this stage. Economic, price of aviation fuel is high. Now, I've made a mistake here. I've just noted the second social cultural point I should have up in the economic there. 48% of consumers say they're influenced by, somewhere, where have I got it? Oh, okay, no, I had meant to put something in here then about inflation and interest rates. So inflation at the moment is above average, around 3.8% or so, and the cash rate in the economy is 4.35%. So that means that's a little higher than it has been. People have got less money to spend. So I would have had that as economic as well. Sociocultural, people travelling. So that's like a consumer trend. Consumers being influenced by companies that adopt policies of environmental sustainability. That's another trend in consumers. Technology, automations of systems from check-in to managing a baggage, and the number of people in technology who've got social media accounts. Legal, let's talk about the licensing of airlines, CASA, and environmental, talking about the fact that airlines are now more fuel efficient than they have been previously. So at the end of this, I want to put together a little bit of a summary. So here's my summary, and this is the analysis now. What does this mean for Qantas? And you would also probably have a USP as well to really pull some points together and see what things. So the Pestel shows that consumers are demanding more environmentally friendly aircraft, and the potential of Qantas to meet this challenge exists as modern aircrafts are more fuel efficient. An emphasis has to be placed on meeting regulations. Qantas should be working closely with the Civil Aviation Safety Authority. Lastly, the opportunity for Qantas to meet the growing demand for domestic and international travel is unique, particularly at a time when Rex and bonds are under financial pressure. Bonds has largely collapsed, and even with consumers struggling with high inflation and interest rates. Now, I had mentioned that I had meant to put that in there. It wasn't in there. That would fit very nicely into the economic part of the Pestel. So I've taken that information and said, what does it actually mean for the company I'm looking at? In my case, Qantas. In your case, the food or beverage company that you're looking at. Finally, this is a little example of one from QCAA, from their subject report. So excellent student work here. And it's you're welcome to just have a read through, maybe pause and have a read through. They've put the what does it mean for the company at the end of each point. So you would only have to, in most cases, you just have to put the first section. I would be putting the first sentence in and coming back and doing the analysis for the company at the end. The one thing I just wanted to mention here in both mine, if you were to go back a little bit and have a look at the one I did in the previous slide and this one here, you can see that there are some business numbers there. So make sure you've got some data into your Pestel. Even just something as similar as government lockdowns during COVID pandemic caused an $18.4 billion revenue decrease. That's, once you use business numbers, you've ticked off that need. You've met that need to have some data in there. Good luck as you finish this off.